Now let's look at some more commands that we can use to help us in the Linux shell. First command we'll look at is who am I? This command literally tells you who you are logged in as, and that may not seem like much when you're used to a desktop environment, but think about this environment where we can have multiple users logged in, and who you are may give you access to certain privileges. So maybe you're trying to do something and it's not working and you realize, oh my goodness, I am not logged in as the correct user to accomplish the task. So you can use the who am I command to see who you currently are logged in as. There are actually a few useful who type commands that we can use. So that's telling me who I am currently logged in as. If I just type who, I see that there are other users logged on to the system. So we see that student, and we can tell that student's in the GUI because of that right there, and that's the initial one that logged in here. On the other TTY, the TTY2, terminal 2, one of those teletype terminals, we have Mary, and then Roots logged in on another terminal. There's actually one more command, W. So you have who am I, who, and then just the W command. Typically W is the one I'll use because W gives me lots of information, everything you see here and more. So if I press that, I not only see the information about the users that we see up here with the who command, I also get information about times, and I get to see what they're doing. You know, they're running the bash shell over here, so we can get a lot more information out of the W command. If you want to see your current IP address information, which is really important, in Windows we would type ipconfig at the command line. Well, in Linux we can type ifconfig, and this actually works on a Mac too because Mac is Unix. If I type ifconfig, I get information about my interfaces. In this case, it's giving me both the loopback and the ETH0, which is the first interface on the system. And if I want to just get information about one of those, and that is a 0, not an O, by the way, I can type that, and sure enough, here we go. Same kind of information, similar information you would get from the ipconfig command in Windows. Then there's the uname command. The uname command is great when you're trying to find some information about your system. What type of kernel, what's my system's host name, lots of stuff we can pull out of here. I type uname and just put an A, I get everything. I get the information about what operating system I'm running. I get information about the actual fully qualified name of this machine, tells me the version of the kernel that I'm using, information about the processor, time, right? Lots of the type of architecture that I'm using. So lots of information with the uname command. And if you don't want all of it, we just type uname --help. And this is one way, easy way to get help. That --help is probably the simplest help we can use in the Linux command line. If I press that, I can see other things that I can pass along if I just want to pull out the name of the system or the processor or possibly the kernel version, that type of information. I can just use some of those options that are available to me here. So the uname is a good one also. There are a couple of more commands that I want to show you, but before I do that, I do want to talk about two things that are really going to help you a lot in Linux. One is tab completion. That means if I'm typing something, for instance, uname, and I don't remember how, the entire spelling of the word, I could hit the tab key on my keyboard twice, and everything that begins with UN will show up. So if I put an A there, I'll tab it twice. Notice it brings it down. Now there's only two things on the system, two commands on the system that have a UN and an A as the first three letters in the command. That is an amazing thing. And once I actually get to the letter that's unique, so you can see right here, they both have UNA, but after that, the L is unique, and after that, the M is unique. So if I type L here, and nothing else, and press the tab key one more time, it completes the command for me. Extremely, extremely useful. So tab completion, you should always be hitting your tab key whenever you're doing anything at the command line. Also helpful when going through a directory structure. So if I want to CD into, and I can type sys, and then tab, network, tab, -tab, and notice it's completing the path for me as I go through. Good thing to keep in mind if you type something here wrong, let's say I get to this point and I type this, and I start hitting the tab, it's not completing, which indicates to me that either I've mistyped something, as I have here, or the thing does not exist on the system, one or the other. So if you're hitting tab completion and you're not getting something back, either it's not there, it's not installed in the system, or there's a misspelling in there, and that's causing the tab completion to fail. So that's a few good commands and tab completion. The other thing, real quick, history. Type the history command, press that. There are all the commands that I have typed recently on the system. Wow, this is just amazingly useful. For instance, look at that long shutdown command right there. I can literally just highlight that. So I type history, shows me everything in my history. I can highlight that, press the middle mouse button, and puts it right down there and runs the command for me. That's really nice. That's one way of doing it. I'll type history again. Now, if I want that command, notice there's a number next to it right there. So let's see. Let's hit this one right here. So there is the if0 if config. Well, I can literally just cut and paste that. I can do that. I can do the middle mouse, or I can see the number next to it, put an exclamation down here at the bottom, type 45, and there you go. So the number is another way. If I press Control R here at the keyboard, I can literally search through the history. So I can type uname, and it's literally looking for something that has U in the search history. So that's really, really nice. History is very, very helpful when you're working at the command line. Let me get out of that. Control C, Control L, clear my screen. Now, a lot of times what I'll do with history, I'll just introduce you to something else which we'll be looking at. I actually pipe that, so the output of that goes to another command. That's what that symbol showing right there. And I will use the grep command to find just the particular commands I want. So for instance, if I want to, I can just say, what commands have shut in them? And there you go. There are all the different commands that have been run. You can tell that they're not in sequence because they're different numbers here, right? That have been run with the word shut within that line somewhere. We'll look at grep and piping more as we go through the class, but history and tab completion, two of the best things I can show you. More to come.